The Harley-Davidson Experience gone wrong at Eisenhower's Chesapeake Harley-Davidson. Let's talk about that. And here we continue with part 2 of the rest of the story. I know it's very long and convoluted, but there's a lot of great information in here for anybody that's buying a bike on things to avoid and look out for, and how the dealer does the dance of trying to get into your wallet and in not so honest ways. So I hope you enjoy the final episode of this conclusion of the purchase of my Icon Revival and the Harley-Davidson Experience. Let's get cracking. So I walk in the dealership and I don't see the bike anywhere. I go and find Joe and I meet and greet him. Super nice guy. And I said, it's 5:45. You guys close at 6. Let's get to the paperwork. Okay. So we sit down, we start doing the paperwork, and he says, I need you to call your insurance company. We need a binder emailed or faxed over to us before we can finance this through Harley's credit. I said, no problem. So I pick up the phone and I call AllState. AllState has a pre-recorded message saying, we recognize Juneteenth. We are operating on a limited staff. You are going to experience longer waiting times. Your call will be answered in 31 minutes. So I shared that with Joe and he said, that's fine. No problem. We're not going anywhere. 93 minutes later, 1.5 hours later, Joe gets a call over the intercom to go to the office, and then he comes back, looks me dead in the eye, again, straight shooter, and he said, Eric, I'm sorry, you either have to go with Harley-Davidson Insurance right here, right now, or we'll have to do this deal tomorrow. And I had been pinged on probably 3 or 4 times to get the Harley insurance. Now, I'm already going with Harley financing at a higher rate that I don't want to. Now I'm being pinged on to sign up for Harley-Davidson Insurance, which I assure you is going to be more expensive than my AllState. I have never known Harley to leave a buck on the table anywhere in my journey with them in my lifetime. So I just looked at Joe and I said, that's not going to happen. I have spent the entire day doing everything I possibly can to make this deal happen. I asked 3 times to have a buyer's order so that I could take care of this before I got here. That never happened, and Joe said, you're right, that never happened. And bear in mind, that's not his choice, and we'll talk about more on that in a minute. So I don't blame Joe for that. So I head for the door. It's now 7:30 at night, going on 8. Most of the staff went home, waiting for me to get the insurance. And Joe asked, are you gonna buy it or tomorrow, or whatever? And I said, I don't know, Joe. I gotta cool off. Let me think this through. And off he went. So I call Mrs. Kraken on the phone and I explain the situation, and she's like, wow. And she says, you know, she left the ball in my court. What do you want to do? And I said, well, I am never going to make this drive again. I am not doing this drive. It was that bad. And I said, so this is do or die, and it all comes down to, am I willing to get a hotel and then deal with this tomorrow? So I thought it through and I said, all right, I'm gonna get the hotel. It's the bike I want at the price I want, which was more than fair. I have yet to see a buyer's order, so we're hoping that those figures are truthful that I was quoted over the phone. So off I go. I do a Google and I find the nearest hotels. There's one for $73. Boom, off I go to it, a Super 8. I drive up to this Super 8. Oh my God, it's just the worst motel I've ever seen in my life. Skid row hanging out all around it. I go up to secure a room. At this point, I just want to get some dinner and kind of lay down and think this through. I park my truck behind the hotel. I go to check out and he tells me it's going to be $100. And I said, doesn't look good. Right here shows your current rates and it's $73. Why are you bumping me $27? Oh, I'll do it for $73. Thanks. So I check out at $73 and I go to the room, and this hotel is gross. We're talking punched out screens, debris laying in the hallways. I get to the room. The phone is grungy, looks like somebody dumped a cup of coffee over it. The menu to call the operator, things of that, has grime all over it. The lamps have spider webs that have been there so long that all the spider webs have collected dust. The AC isn't working in the room, so it's hotter than Hades in there. And I'm like, this just doesn't get any better. So I put the AC on high, hoping it would work, and out the room I go to go find some place to eat. Now, I don't want to drive around with a trailer and find some place to eat, so let's just get something local. So I went to Taco Bell, and at this point, I'm fuming. I get back to the room with my Taco Bell, and I take about 3 bites. I'm so upset at this point, the way everything is shaken down right now. I just threw it in the trash, and I have no phone reception inside the room, so I go out at this time, it's nighttime, to make some phone calls to family and friends and talk to them about what's going on. And talk to Mrs. Kraken again and explain the situation. She's like, my God, get out of there and go get another hotel. Now, I need to make something clear. This Super 8 I went to, this dive, Skid Row dive, has nothing to do with the deal. That's all on me. I chose it because I'm cheap and I chose the cheapest room in that area. I should have just rolled out of there and gone to a decent hotel for another 30, 40, 50 bucks, whatever it is. It would have been worth it. I didn't. So while I'm making my phone calls, all kinds of unbelievable Riff Raff is running around the place. Now, bear in mind, from Florida up to New York is kind of the corridor for the drug trafficking here on the East Coast. So I'm not saying these people were connected with that, but let's just say there's a high probability, if that makes sense. I can't sleep. I get up a couple of times. I go outside to check on the truck. I'm worried about my truck. I'm worried about the trailer getting stolen, et cetera, et cetera. I wake up at 5:30 in the morning. Again, I cannot sleep. Got almost no rest. And I said, to heck with it. Went in the bathroom. The bathroom was so gross, I'm not going to even shower. I have no toiletries. I can't even brush my teeth. This day is just turning out great. So I go fill up with gas and I ride back over to the dealership, and I get to the dealership at 6 a.m. They do not open till 9 a.m. So I'm sitting in the truck and I'm kind of nodding off, waiting for the dealership to open. I text Joe and let him know that I am here and I'm ready to rock and roll when you get to work. One of the staff gets there early, Steve. He was one of the guys pinging on me, I think his name was Steve, to get the Harley Insurance just to seal this deal so they can go home. And I don't blame them. I mean, it sucks being at a retail facility and somebody's keeping the doors open after you're closed. They have family and they deserve to be at home with them. I have no problems with that. However, this could have been avoided if they had faxed the buyer's order. There's an ulterior motive there, and I'll get into that in just a second. So when this gentleman greets me and says, I don't want to keep you waiting any longer. Why don't you come in and we'll get started on this to get you on the road? And I said, great. 2 things need to happen before we go any further, okay? A, I would like to see my bike. I have yet to even lay eyes on it. B, I would like to see a buyer's order right now. I want to see the numbers. I'm through clowning. I'm through with the bob and weave when I'm asking this question. Let's get to where we're going in a hurry. Okay. And he takes me in the office and he shuffles papers for about 15, 20 minutes. Clearly he's buying time so he can pawn me off on the next person. Joe gets there, we talk, go out, look at the bike, talk about it, and he's very apologetic. I'm like, don't, it is what it is. And I get what's going on here. Let's salvage this and make it a pleasurable experience. So my turn to go into settlement. So I go into one of the offices and I need to do a footnote here. This dealership is unusual in the sense that it seems like all the sales reps do the financing and they share it amongst all of themselves. And they don't have a dedicated F&I person, finance and insurance. So in this case, Grace is the one I'm handed off to. And she starts to go through her spiel. And I need to stop here in this story. Everybody has an area of expertise. Now, what people don't know is I've basically had 2 jobs in my lifetime. My first job was I was a general manager for a GM dealership, a General Motors dealership, for 21 years. I am quite familiar with the process, the legality of it, a proper disclosure, how you disclose the fees, etc. And I can smell fertilizer a mile away, okay? And I explained this to Joe, and Joe has already gone in and said, please don't clown this guy. He doesn't want the extra items, and just take care of him, please. So Grace says, here's your credit score. You got the top tier with Harley. That's great. And your interest rate is going to be 4.99% or 4.9, I don't remember. And I said, why is the interest rate 1.5% higher than what I was quoted? And she kind of mumbled out an excuse that was a stone cold lie. Now, what people need to know is the dealers get a buy rate, meaning what they can sell the loan for. And in this case, maybe the buy rate was 2.5%, like I was going to get from my credit union. And if they sell the loan for 3.5%, over the term of that loan, the dealership is reimbursed that 1% of the money dispersed over the length of the term of the loan. What's not unusual is for motorcycle dealerships is to hike it into the stratosphere, and that's when you start to see the 15%, the 20%, the 24%, all the way up to the state legal limits. I don't know what it is for Maryland. In Virginia, it used to be right around 24%, and they're paid that great deal amount of money. So people need to know that. So at this point, I know I'm being lied to, I know what I'm dealing with, and it's only gonna go downhill. So I just sit back and, Grace, knock your socks off. I'm gonna give you enough rope to hang yourself. Next, she pulls out a buyer's order. Now bear in mind, in today's world, a lot of dealerships are doing documentation that you actually don't have to sign. They flip a screen around, they briefly disclose it. They don't want you to read all this fine print or you'll be there for a couple hours. I get that as well. I have done thousands of settlements myself. And Grace kind of shoves some forms in front of me, the bill of sale, or otherwise known as sometimes the buyer's order. And on there are two items. One is the extended service plan for $1,500, and the other is an environmental protection package for $500. And I said, I do not want either one of those, and please explain to me why you have already signed my name electronically on this bill of sale. I don't condone this, I didn't sign it. My computer is set up that way, it only prints out that way, and I said, print out a new one. I can't do that right now, and I said, well, find a way. So she managed to print a new buyer's order without those items, and I physically signed that one. I have both of those documents. I will share them with you. Now, ladies and gentlemen, I want to be clear. That's fraud, all right? That's against the law to sign somebody's name on a legal document on any transaction of any type that involves a vehicle or home or something like that. Protect yourself at all times. Please listen to these clues I'm giving you, and this is not uncommon. So at this point, I have a decision to make. Do I push back on the interest rate and say, get the general manager in here and let's punch this out? I opted not to, because if you're so much of a pain in the neck, they'll just invite you to leave. Get out. They're not worried about selling this bike to the next guy. It will get sold. That I promise you. So I'm like, I'm just gonna go along with it and smile and grin and bear it while biting my tongue. So I'm like, Grace, you do realize you're going to get a chargeback on this loan and that you have bumped me on the rate and it's inappropriate. She didn't even reply. Okay, no problem. We go through the rest of the paperwork. She does print up the buyer's order or bill of sale with the correct numbers on it. And I said, I want to see the loan documents. And she was very good about showing me the loan documents. Here's the amount you finance. And yes, it agrees with my numbers. So I finished signing the paperwork. At this point, I'm getting angry and fired up again. I can feel my blood pressure going up. I go out and I'm greeted by Joe. And I said, Joe, she bumped the rate 1.5%. I could tell by the look on his face, he was mortified. So I'm like, let's just wrap this up. Let's get it loaded and get me out of this place now. At this point, we go over and he starts to go over the bike. And I said, don't worry about going over the bike. I'm gonna read the manual front to back, cover to cover, because there's so much information on this bike, especially on that boom infotainment system, to learn and figure out how to get it all to play nice with your cell phone and Cena headsets and things of that nature. So don't worry about it. We go through the normal process. Joe, who's very kind soul, says, pick out any Gremlin bell. That's a gift from me. I buy them for all my customers. And we'll get you a couple of t-shirts and whatever. So I go over to and I'm introduced to the apparel people, two nice gals. She takes me over to specific aisles where you can pick out two of the t-shirts, which I do. And I head back, bought a poker chip from my brother-in-law, he collects them. From there, I go right over to the parts department. The parts person at the counter said, yeah, I was here last night, I rolled out early, you were taking too long. And by the way, the Icon Revival doesn't have any accessories. You can get generic ones. Would you like any? And you can get them at date of purchase at a reduced price. And I said no, because there's no options available yet by Harley-Davidson that match this styling. No rear passenger seat with the white and the black and etc. So thanks, but no thanks. And thanks for letting me know you rolled out last night. Sorry I kept you here late. I'm introduced to the service department. We talk for a little bit, and then we go out and we load the bike up. Thank you, Joe, for getting me some help loading it, as I was more than concerned to do it by myself in my present physical condition. So I hop in the truck and I go to drive home. There was only one accident on 95 on the way home, so I got home in about 4 hours instead of 6 or 8 or whatever it took me to get down there. I get home without incident, and I unload the bike and pull it in the garage and bring Mrs. Kraken out to show her, and we high-five, and what was supposed to be one of the greatest days of my life turned out to be an absolute mess from cradle to grave because of the business tactics of Eisenhauer, Chesapeake Harley-Davidson. They are trying to gouge every step of the way. And this is not uncommon. The reason why I share this story is this can happen to you if you're buying a Benelli or a Vespa or a Honda or a Yamaha or Kawasaki or Indian. If it's a shady dealership and this is how their business practices are, I commend them for just charging MSRP for this bike, but your process for lying and cheating and gouging somebody, the reason why, let me go back to the buyer's order or the bill of sale. The reason why Joe didn't email it over to me is he wasn't allowed to. They want to spring that on you while you're all hyped and amped up and want to buy the bike and ride off in the sunset and live the American dream. They want to present that environmental protection package and warranty, and it's only going to cost you about $40 more a month or whatever the payment shakedown is. 9 out of 10 people are like, sure. You're not going to get away with this with every single customer, and my advice, this message is for Harley-Davidson Corporate, the MoCo. I have stated this all along. A big portion of your problems in your declining sales is this very situation. This was the Harley-Davidson experience that I experienced on buying one of the most premier bikes, your Icon, that you tout as having a notch above all the rest. And this is what I went through to buy this bike. The system is broken on the dealership level. Send somebody from corporate, incognito, pretend to buy a bike, go through the process, gauge it, and then move in with your thugs from Harley-Davidson and have a chat with the dealer principal and say, this is going to change and here's how you're going to do business. Or we'll politely take our sign off the front of your building and all our bikes with us. And believe me, they will do that. This type of selling on payment and then packing it full of interest rate items that some of it may be beneficial to you, and in my case, these are not beneficial to me. I wrench on my own bikes. I can fix 9 out of 10 things by myself. Environmental protection package is snake oil, and I can buy my own snake oil and put it on the bike. I don't need to drop a half a grand for it. Another common item that you need to be aware of is what's known as gap protection. And I did discuss this with Grace, but because my down payment was so large, the loan didn't qualify, or otherwise, I promise you she would have jammed it in there and shoved it in front of me, hoping I would just sign with a light disclosure. What gap protection is it's designed for somebody, let's say you buy this bike at full list price and all the goodies on it, and you finance the whole enchilada and it gets totaled the next day. Insurance is only going to pay off $29,199, and the rest of that, good luck with yourself. So you are termed what's called underwater or upside down. You owe more on your vehicle than what it is worth. It's not uncommon for that negative equity to be rolled into the next loan, and it's easier and less painful on the consumer to make a payment and pay off that upside down amount of money that you brought to the table. So gap protection, what that provides is an insurance policy that in the event something like that happens again, you pay normally, it normally runs $300, $400, $500. I've seen it as high as $600, $700. Again, dealers mark this up as a profit center to be sold in the finance department. So that's my Harley-Davidson experience on buying one of their premier bikes. It was pretty bad from cradle to grave. No, I would not recommend this dealership. I've already received an email, I'll throw it up here, where I have to be heard by Harley-Davidson with rating how my buying experience went. How would you answer this survey? And I don't want to roll Joe under the bus because he's legit. He's a solid salesman, he's doing all the right things. The management and how they're choosing to run this dealership that is killing the very spirit of Harley-Davidson with sales just like this. So with that said, let's wrap this up. A shout out to Colby, who gave me this hat from Laidlaw's. I'm a huge Laidlaw's fan. They're a dealership in SoCal, Southern California, and Matt Laidlaw is third generation in that dealership, and he does wonderful reviews. Be sure to check him out. I'll put a link to his channel down below. He needs no introduction. He is absolutely wonderful and kind of one of my mentors as I try to up my game to his level of production on YouTube videos. Colby gave me this hat. It means the world to me. Thank you so much. I'm a huge Laidlaw fan, even though I've never set foot in the dealership. Thank you, Colby. Very much appreciated. Don't forget, we have a giveaway of the Oden gloves if you want to win these. I'll put a link to that video down below. We're going to be giving those away coming up next month. If you would like to win those, take a look at that video. And there's my ghost dog telling me in Kraken's Auto Garage that it's time to wrap up this video. Sorry it was so long-winded. If you like this video, give it a thumbs up. If you didn't like it, give it a thumbs down. If you want to see more in the future, hit that subscribe button right down there in the corner. And remember, folks, go riding. It's good for you, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace.